What's up, it's Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video. This is gonna be my February wrap-up. Hello, happy March 1st. Yes, I'm filming my wrap-up on the 1st of the month. What is life? What a concept. Incredible. Show-stopping. Probably still won't be up till halfway through the month. But here we are. I'm wearing my new favorite piece of clothing from the Common Room shop, and I was like, I just need to film a video in this. It's just so comfy and cute and cozy. Anyway, February. It wasn't the best reading month. I have a lot of unfinished projects going into March, so we're still playing catch-up perpetually. Right now I'm still working on my first February vlog to upload, and it's March 1st. Yep. I haven't uploaded a YouTube February vlog yet. I have for Patreon. But anyway, hello, if you're new here, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Jan. I do my wrap-ups in the reread, rewrite, burn tag method. I've been doing this for like 4 years now, and I love it so much because it's a fun way to do my wrap-ups. So we have this handy dandy skull. We have the titles I read on little slips of paper. I pull them out 3 at a time, and I will say whether I hypothetically would reread, rewrite, or burn them. So it's basically fuck, marry, kill, but make it bookish. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? I read 21 books in February. I read a lot of chonkers with my eyeballs. I'm really trying hard this year to stop being intimidated by bigger books. I read a lot physically anyway, but I'm really challenging myself to pick up chunky books with or without the audiobook. I read a lot of library books. I read 3 manga. Let's just get right on into the recap. So I read 21 books, 6,046 pages, my best book of the month. Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. Oh my god, this is one of the chonkers I read completely with my eyeballs. Such a fun time. The girlies are right with the hype with this one. Definitely deserves the hype in my opinion. This is a romantasy, which I'm trying to get into more of, but I'm starting with romantasy books that have like horror elements. This one has horror elements because it's a deadly competition, so the stakes are high. Our main character is trying to save her sister. There's this whole thing with their mom passing away in the beginning and secrets that come with that. And then she falls in love with Danny Phantom is what I've heard this pitched as at first. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but the thing with the romance in this is that I knew there was supposed to be chemistry between them, right? And I know that sounds dumb because like a lot of romance books, like that's what you expect. But like if I didn't know from the synopsis that she was supposed to fall in love with this Phantom, I feel like it wasn't as strong until the end. But I still loved it. I still swooned, squealed, loved how melodramatic the Phantom was at times. There were lines that I was like, okay, this feels forced. This feels a little too much for this particular moment. But at the end of the day, the plot itself, again, so high stakes. There were people dying left and right. It was a little bit predictable with this one reveal at the end, but there was also another reveal that had my jaw in hell. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. No pun intended. As some of you know, I've hosted for 2 years in a row now my Jante's Inferno readathon, and the fact that this is essentially the same concept in book form, like fantasy book form, I was like, I'm here for it. I'm here for every second. I loved how fast the chapters flew by. I loved Ophelia's sister Genevieve, who our second book is going to be about, which comes out in April. Needless to say, I gave this 5 stars, best book of the month. I read this for my romantasy turned cramming vlog, which will probably be out mid-March at this point, hopefully. My worst book was an arc I read for a little horror novella called But Not Too Bold. Well, it's like a horror romance monster novella. I gave this 1 star. I just wasn't into it. There was some good like spider horror to it, which I was into, but I'm not a monster romance girly. There are a couple of exceptions. I think like that time I got drunk and saved a demon, really liked that one. But this one, like I guess because when I requested the arc or got the arc from, I want to say Tor Nightfire, I was expecting a horror novella. Then I saw it was a monster romance novella and I was just like confused. It's also sapphic, so I was like, okay, let me try to read this. The cover's so cute, the pink and the blue spider. I like the spider imagery, but other than that, I didn't really care and I just wanted to be done with it. But it was super short, so I'm glad I didn't spend too much time on it. And that was my arc for the month. Because I am trying to up my NetGalley score, as always. I think I'm at like 32%. that now. Oh, the other arcs I read were audiobooks from my ALC list, which are influencer arcs from Libro FM. So I read All the Blues in the Sky by Renee Watson. I gave that 4 stars. It was a really powerful, like, coming of age novel. I believe it was middle grade, and I think it was told in verse, if I recall correctly. Renee Watson's writing is just so, like, powerful. It has so much impact. You can just feel it in her narration, in the words themselves. It was just a coming of age about this girl who was grieving her best friend who died in a car accident. She's trying to grapple with that, you know, experiencing death of a person she was close with for the first time in her life. That was a very heart-wrenching story. And then the other ALC I listened to was Autopsy of an Ex-Teen Heartthrob by Avin Jogia, the dude from Victorious, okay? The heartthrob from Victorious. And this was a poetry collection. I had no idea that he was writing a book. This one, I think I gave 3 stars. Oh no, I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so on the title, like the subtitle, it said something about sex. So there were a lot of poems about sex and his experiences with sex, but it was also resembling other things that he's experienced in life. He talks about his fame and his family, coming from an immigrant family, the things he went through in terms of rumors. There were quotes about following your dreams and making the most of your time, things like that. Some of them really hit, some of them, I remember I was shopping at TJ Maxx while listening to some of these, and it was just like poem after poem about sex and nudity and things like that. And like, you know, I'm fine with that. It's just I wasn't expecting so much of it like consecutively, but I mean, it was good. Other than memoirs, I usually don't read books by celebrities, but if you have good writing, you have good writing. It wasn't the best poetry I've ever read, but some of them, like I said, really resonated with me. Okay, for my coffin covers challenge, which is a monthly reading challenge I have over on Patreon. We're called The Lair. We're vampire themed. Perks are listed through the link down below. Would love to have you as a fellow vamp if you were so inclined. Love to get to know you more in our Discord, which we talk on every single day. I'm active on there every single day. We're gonna start doing body doubling sprints over there, so just like silent accountability sprints. So that should be fun. We have buddy reads on there every month, or readathons every single month, exclusive videos obviously, and just exclusive updates. That's all down below. We have a coffin covers challenge, which is basically a reading challenge where you look for something on the cover and read a book that fits the prompt every month. And this month we were supposed to look for a bed on the cover, and I ended up reading Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman, which is a Heartstopper novella. Well, it said solitaire novella on Goodreads, but it's the characters from Heartstopper. I haven't read Solitaire. Nick and Charlie are probably in there too, but I want to read all of Alice Oseman's books. I love their writing. This one I gave 3 stars. It was super cute, and I understand that the target audience is teenagers going through transitions in their life, like going from high school to university, going through their first relationships, maybe coming out to people in their lives. The thing with this is that Nick is going to university soon and Charlie is a year younger, so they're trying to decide whether they want to go long distance or not and how to deal with that, how to prepare for that mentally, and they're listening to all this outside noise from their friends and like what they should or shouldn't do. It was just like a lot of back and forth and a lot of lack of communication, but again, teenage boys, so it was understandable, but I just didn't like reading about it personally. I love Nick and Charlie nevertheless. I just wish this were a full-blown novel. I would have loved a full-blown novel rather than trying to squish all those problems and arguments and everything in one little novella. I could read about Nick and Charlie forever. I try to read a book from a book box subscription every month, at least one. It should be more than that, but because I'm trying to whittle down all of those books. But I only read one this month from Book of the Month, which was Phantasma. And then just to list out the books that I've read from my 2025 TBR, because I need to be held accountable for this to make progress every single month, so I don't procrastinate until the end of the year once again. I read La Petite Mort by Olivia Blake. I gave this 3 stars. It's a little vampire novella. Honestly, this was kind of disappointing. It just felt like it dragged and I kind of wanted more vampirism in it. It just didn't feel like a memorable story for me, which is sad because it's like set in New Orleans and, you know, I love vampires. I love that setting and I love Olivia Blake's writing, but this was not my favorite. But I'm glad I have the indie edition of this because I love this cover. This was on my 25 for 2025, and then these other 2 were from my 12 Recs by 12 Vamps. Come Closer by Sarah Gran, which I read in my Patreon readathon, but I read it for Jante's Inferno. So here are my thoughts. I gave this 4 stars. I followed along with the audiobook. This is actually Joey's copy and he let me annotate. He lets me annotate all the books I read of his, but I really enjoyed this. I was kind of surprised by how much I enjoyed it because possession stories can get redundant, you know, like can get very boring if you're used to reading them. But this one went right into it. Things got weird right away. She's dealing with her declining marriage, so there were a lot of quotes about relationships and love, and I think it's a really well-paced novella because it got to the point really quickly, but it also felt like things got weird, like it was like a slow burn weird at the same time for how short it is. And there wasn't like a drawn-out exorcism scene. It was very brief, and I liked the ending. And then the last 2025 TBR book I read was A Head Full of Ghosts by Paula Tremblay. I read this for my next Do Your Worst episode, which will be up this month. But I gave this 5 stars. Love the ending for this as well. I loved the discussions about horror as a genre and all the references to like horror movies and horror books. Come Closer was actually mentioned in this, and this is about a sister who gets possessed. There was this whole back and forth between this documentary that was being filmed of the family dealing with the one daughter being possessed. We get the perspective of her sister. I think we get her perspective as well at some point. There was a little twist in this, and I really love books that do that have like those in-between chapters of a mixed media element. Like My Darling Dreadful Thing did that. The Favorites, Daisy Jones and the Six, especially horror books. I like books like that. Like Horror Movie did that by Paula Tremblay as well. He has a very unique writing style. It's like slow, and then it all comes together at the end, and you just like see the little parts that were thrown in. I love that. So this was very engaging, and the audiobook, I was following along, I annotated. It got creepy at times. Okay, now into the reread, rewrite, burn. We're doing 7 rounds for 21 books. Good thing I talked about a lot of them already, so this should go by pretty quickly. We have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, Anathema by Carrie Lake, which I read for Rachel from Raven-Haired Readers' new fantasy romance book club, and like I said, I'm trying to get into that genre, and I read this whole thing with my eyeballs. Like, I'm so proud of myself. And then Minor Detail. I listened to that one on audio. Shit. See, I don't want to burn Minor Detail. I honestly would want to reread Minor Detail, but I also... Okay, let's just go with it. So I would reread Anathema, even though it's so long. No. Ugh, shit. No, you know what? Okay. We're gonna reread Minor Detail because it's such an important story and it's so devastating, and I feel like I would want to read it physically. I just know this was so sad, and it's about a girl living through a war and these traumatic times and being treated so badly by men and just by other people. Check trigger warnings for this one because it was really hard to listen to. It's very bleak. The fact that these things are really happening in countries all over the world, it's an important story. I did give it 4 stars as opposed to 5 because it is a story that I need to reread to really grasp, you know? And I felt like really disconnected from the characters, but I got a YouTube comment from someone who said that the author did that on purpose, most likely, to evoke a certain emotion of like, yeah, you feel detached from this character, like you can't get close to them because they are seen as invisible, and that comment really made sense to me. So yeah, I would reread that. I would rewrite Anathema, make it a little bit shorter, just a little bit. Okay, like I didn't mind reading this long of a book because I love a slow burn romance and a slow burn story. I love a gothic story, and this has all the gothic vibes. So let me try to explain to the best of my ability. This is gonna be hard, I'm gonna sound stupid. It's fine, I've been called worse. So, girl named Mavis. She has an adopted sister named I forgot what her sister's name is. Oh, hold on. I know where to find it. It's the last... Alicia. Alicia is her adopted sister's name. They're really close. They get separated some way, somehow. There's this dude, Zavander, who has this black flame power that he's trying to get rid of. Sable Fire is what it's called. Wow, I'm so proud. Sable Fire is what it's called, and honestly, it doesn't sound that bad. Like, at one point he says he's like immune to certain diseases or like every disease or whatever, and I was like, I would love that because my immune system is shit. But he's trying to get rid of it because he doesn't like how it takes control of him and stuff, so he has to like collect these stones, and there's this whole like quest to get rid of this Sable Fire. And then their stories collide. She ends up in like his territory. There's a slow burn romance between them. He captures her because people want to kill her, but he like feels a connection, and he's like, I am gonna protect you with my entire soul. And she's just learning about this world. She's trying to save her sister. She's trying to figure out how to get back but also stay alive to save her sister. There's a lot going on. There's like a 20-page glossary. It's really hard to keep track of everything. There are a lot of different creatures. There were like dragon-esque creatures that tried killing her. There were like these firefly-looking creatures with like human faces. There's like fae-ish type of... Yeah, there's a lot. and I really enjoyed it. I gave this 5 stars. This was actually head-to-head with Phantasma for my best book of the month, but Phantasma won because it was a lot easier on my brain. You know, I'm familiar with the 9 Circles of Hell, whereas this, I had to learn every new term. But by the end, I loved it. I mean, I loved going back to this story every time I picked it up. I loved the different abilities that she discovered about herself and about this world. There was a lot of death. It was good. It was good. But I would rewrite it to make it a little bit shorter and maybe a little simpler. Just a little easier on the brain. But I will be continuing the series. The second one comes out sometime this year. I think in the fall. And I think it's a trilogy. It's the Eating Woods trilogy. And then I would burn Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. But this is probably the most surprising book of the year for me because everybody was telling me how much I'm gonna hate this book. Not a single soul was like, Jan, you might like it because of this and that. No, like even the witchy elements, they were like, it's like 15% witchy, 85% pregnancy. And I was like, fuck. So I was like mentally preparing because this was my full moon book club pick for February. And I do have a spoiler-filled vlog with all my thoughts. I read some of the birthing scenes out loud because I wanted you to suffer with me. I'll link that down below. I am pretty proud of that vlog because it was such a surprise. Spoiler, I gave this 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars. It's my second favorite Grady Hendrix book. I've read almost all of them and I just really enjoyed the commentary and the brutal parts. And I actually really liked the witchiness. I liked the audiobook too. I followed along. I read this in 24 hours. There were some brutal parts with like fingernail scenes and of course the birthing scenes. But yeah, I liked the magic in this. I liked the characters, the friendships. What really helped were the author's notes talking about why he made certain choices in writing this book in general, but also like choosing witches as a monster. I'm not going to go into it too much because of the spoiler-filled vlog, but I did enjoy this a lot more than I thought I would. I was fully going into this. I almost changed my book club pick after so many people messaged me, but I was like, no, I already announced it. We're gonna commit. But I would burn it because, I mean, Grady Hendrix is a hit or miss author. He's gonna keep writing more books. I'll read more by him. I would reread this, honestly, maybe. But in this case, we'll burn it because it does have a lot of things that I would not want to experience again. But I'm not unhauling this. I'm keeping this on my shelves because this is a monumental book for my reading career, okay? This is forever gonna be ingrained as like my most surprising book ever because I really thought I was gonna give this 1 star. That was an experience. Sorry that took so long. Let's go to the next 3. We've got The Wishing Game by Meg Schaffer, Creep, a Love Story by Emma Van Straten, and Black Butler Volume 2. So right off the bat, I would burn Black Butler Volume 2. I gave that one 3 stars. I just wanted a new manga series to read, like maybe for readathons and stuff and in between longer novels as like a palate cleanser. And Black Butler seemed right up my alley with like the gothic looking covers, and the whole premise reminded me of A Sorcery of Thorns, which is one of my favorite books of all time. But yeah, I mean, usually in wrap-ups, if you didn't know, I usually burn manga unless it's Junji Ito, just because there's so many of them and I read them again as palate cleansers and I don't really like analyze them, you know? They're just a fun, silly, goofy time. But in Black Butler, I'm sure y'all have heard of this if you've read manga or consumed any type of anime, is about this butler who is disguised as a butler, but he's actually a demon. He's helping this boy seek revenge because his parents were killed. That's the premise of that. And it's really hard for me to distinguish manga volumes because honestly they all just like blend together for me. It's so hard, especially if there's like more than 3 volumes. Like Orange, that was a duology. I love that duology and like I was able to distinguish parts from each one, but it just gets so confusing and they go so fast. But yeah, would reread, okay. Would reread Creep. I listened to this as an ALC. I was really on top of my ALCs this month. I was really proud. This I was eyeing for a long time because as soon as it was announced, I looked at the synopsis and it's an obsession story and I was like, I love those. I need a physical copy of this. But then it was an ALC and I was like, let me just listen to it. It's short. I needed to do chores that day, so I was like, let's just pop it in. That's what she said. And I gave it 3 stars, like a high 3. It had really, really good quotes. Like, oh, where's my phone? I don't have my phone, but there was this one really long quote about being a woman and how women are expected to look a certain way and do all these things like pat their eyes with creams and cover up their arms and wear a certain clothing size, and yet men age good-naturedly while they turn gray and like things like that. I'm sorry, that was a very bad paraphrasing of that quote, but it was powerful. And there were a lot of quotes like that. It's about this girl who cleans this dude's house, this rich dude's house. She becomes obsessed with said rich dude, but they've never seen seeing each other because she cleans while he's not home. She like looks through his stuff, she goes through his emails, leaves him notes, and then she basically stalks him, and they finally meet in a very different destination from his house, and he like freaks out because he has a wife. And it was like creepy. Like I think she does something with his toothbrush at one point, and also his wife's toothbrush. She was unhinged, and I love a good unhinged woman story. There were a lot of parts where it was just stream of consciousness and we kind of lost the plot a little bit. So I think I would want to reread this physically at some point in life because it is short. It's a short little unhinged woman book. So I would reread that, and then I would rewrite The Wishing Game. Honestly, if the protagonist were older and if she had her life together, this would make more sense, because the biggest thing that annoyed me about this, I gave this 3 stars by the way, but it started off as a 2-star for a majority of the book because she is so obsessed with adopting this kid, but she can barely even take care of herself because she lives with 3 other roommates. Her life is basically in shambles. Not in shambles, that's dramatic, but she just doesn't have it together. She doesn't have stable income. She only has like $2,000 to her name. Like, how do you raise a 7-year-old with that situation, you know? Especially because she is kind of lost in life as well, but she's so focused in this student of hers because she's like a teacher aide or something. And yeah, like she doesn't even have her own place. One of them would have had to sleep on the floor or the couch or whatever. Oh, Joey's back from the gym, but he's okay. When she was a kid, she was into this book series, and she got the kid into this book series, and there's this island called Clock Island, and there's this author that lives there, and there's this competition. So this was pitched to me as Willy Wonka for adults. She gets invited to this island to enter this competition to win this prize money, and she's like, oh my god, I need this because if I win, I could adopt him and everything will be fine. There's a found family situation by the end, and there are all these riddles throughout the book. So it's essentially like a fun, whimsical time. It was just the fact that she was so adamant. Like, I'm talking every page, she talks about wanting to adopt this kid, and I was just like, oh my god, please, someone please, just let her, because she's being really annoying about it. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars, and I would just, you know, if she were like 34 and had a stable job and her own place, it would make sense. But she's 26. I was like, live your life, just focus on you, and if he ends up with a family who's better capable of taking care of him, then so be it. But, you know, that's just me. Next 3, The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, Come Closer by Sarah Gran, and Black Butler Volume 1. Okay, I would reread Come Closer, loved it, would read it again. The Swimmers, I would rewrite. I listened to this one on audio for my buzzword book of the month, because the buzzword for Buzzwordathon for Kayla's monthly challenge was water words. My friend Tiffany recommended The Swimmers, so I was like, okay, it's available on Libby, let me listen to it. It's a short audiobook. I would rewrite this to make the beginning part like shorter. Like the lead up was a little bit too long to what the whole thing was about, and I get it, like we needed that first part to set the foundation of who this character was in the past. Then there's this middle chapter called The Crack, and it's supposed to represent the crack in the foundation and like the mental decline of this main character's mom, because essentially the whole book is about this mother going through a rare-ish disease that's similar to dementia, essentially. The second half of it was very much like We Spread by Ian Reid, losing your memory, just like remembering certain parts of your life, but also losing parts of your life rapidly and not remembering the littlest things and waiting for your husband to do this and that. And oh my god, it was so emotional. But I feel like if I didn't know that that part was coming, because I talked to one of my other patrons, M, who read this, she compared it to We Spread, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for that part because this first part was all about swimming, which is fine, but it was like, where is this going? You know what I mean? And then Black Butler Volume 1, I would burn for the same reasons as Volume 2. But I'm still gonna continue the series. I'm on the 4th one now, so I'm enjoying it. Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, Autopsy of an Ex-Teen Heartthrob, and When Haru Was Here by Dustin Tao. Would reread Phantasma, obviously, best book of the month. Would rewrite When Haru Was Here because, so this was about our main character, what's his name? What was his name? I don't remember. Was it Eric? I don't remember. But he's grieving over his best friend who died. He goes to Tokyo in the beginning, and he meets this guy, Haru. Dustin Tao, if you didn't know, he writes it's magical realism, YA contemporary type of books. I loved You've Reached Sam, so I wanted to pick this one up. I got a physical copy from the library. I thought it read really quickly, but the thing with Dustin Tao is he doesn't explain why things are happening. So the whole magic part of it, you just kind of have to roll with it and accept that it's happening. You have to read it for what it is at surface level, at face value. This guy is just appearing and disappearing out of nowhere. Is he real? Is he not? Is he just all in our main character's head? And like, how the hell did he find him in New York from Tokyo? Or not New York, in Chicago from Tokyo. It's a coming of age YA contemporary about grief. And there's this guy who just keeps appearing and disappearing, and we just don't really know what's going on, but there's like an attraction there, and there are some heartbreaking moments because our main character is trying to figure things out, hanging out with different people that may or may not be bad influences or like are treating him poorly, don't have his best interest at heart. He just gets heartbroken so many times, and I was like, oh my god, give him a break. I would rewrite that to maybe just give an explanation. Like, what fucking happened? What was the third one? What the fuck was the third one? Oh my god. Did I already burn something? Shit, I can't remember. I think I reread. Oh my god, what was the third one? Shit. Hold on, let me look through my papers. Oh, Autopsy of an Ex-Teen Heartthrob. Yeah, I would burn that. It's a poetry collection. I don't think I would ever want to reread that, but it was a solid experience to read from the dude from Victorious, because Victorious was part of my childhood. All the Blues in the Sky by Renee Watson, Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman, and But Not Too Bold. Oh my god, burn that. Worst book of the month. Reread All the Blues in the Sky and rewrite Nick and Charlie for reasons I talked about before. Like, I would love if Nick and Charlie were a novel rather than a novella. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer to like make it longer, but whatever. Okay, La Petite More. Nope, that's not the right book. Where the fuck did it go? La Petite More by Olivia Blake. Black Butler Volume 3. Ooh! The Lamb by Lucy Rose. Reread The Lamb by Lucy Rose. This is a new release horror book. It's told in like almost vignettes. The chapters are really short. I don't know what to say without spoiling things. Hold on, what's in the... She satisfies her burning appetite by picking apart their bodies. Mama loves the strays. She feeds them wine, keeps them warm. With this gothic coming-of-age tale, explores how women swallow their anger, desire, and animal instincts and wrings the relationship between mother and daughter until blood drips from it. So I don't know if you can make some inferences based on that synopsis, but it's like A Certain Hunger meets The Bog Wife meets... What did I say? I had it on my Goodreads. It was The Bog Wife meets A Certain Hunger meets Where I End, I think is what I said, because of the mother-daughter thing. Yeah, this was good. This was so good. The ending of it and like the lead up to it and all the weird things that her mom does and they do together. There are these strays that visit their home in the middle of nowhere, and then, yeah, they feed them wine and keep them warm. I don't know how to explain it without just saying it, but it's a folk horror, and there's a little bit of kind of a romance in it. I just know that there were these familial secrets that are revealed. I was shook and shaken, and like I said, I love the ending. It was just so well done. The writing is lush, exquisite, so good. Highly recommend if you're into folk horror. So I would reread that, rewrite La Petite More. I just wanted more vampire scenes. I feel like some parts of this dragged so hard. Maybe like a faster pace. But this is supposed to be like a gothic story. It felt so... Is convoluted the right word? I don't know. It didn't seem like the plot was going one direction. It felt discombobulated. For such a short book too, I feel like it needed more cohesion. Ooh, look at me using words. But yeah, we'll just go with that. And then burn Black Butler Volume 3. Last three. First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Oh, are we putting the romances against each other? Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. Oh, and then A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. Shit. Why is the last group always the hardest? Fuck. This is not fair. This is not fair. Oh no. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So I would reread A Head Full of Ghosts. It was 5 stars. I would love to know little things that foreshadowed. I would love to reread those quotes about like the horror movies and everything again, because it really isolates horror as a genre and like certain themes that are touched upon and certain tropes. So I thought it was really interesting. But yeah, I would reread that. Rewrite Love Unwritten, make it a little bit shorter. This, I would say, like, I love my long romances. I said this in my vlog, but this is one that I think would have benefited from being a little bit shorter. Not too much shorter, but it just felt a little too long and some scenes were just dragged out. This is Raphael and Ellie. Raphael has a son who has this health condition with his eyes. Ellie nannies and they talk about his condition. They talk about how she fits in with the family. They go on a trip to Hawaii together, all three of them. She has anxiety about plane rides. Raphael is really good with that. There's an age gap, so he's really hesitant about going into something new. And there are other personal issues between them, like individually, that they're trying to protect each other from, if that makes sense. Also, trigger warnings for self-harm, because Ellie does go through that and talks about it a lot, and she struggles with that even in present day, but she also like talks about her past experiences with it. So there were definitely parts that were hard to read, but overall I liked the relationship between them. I liked the kid the entire time, and I always say when an author is able to do that, for me personally, that's talent. So I would just make it a little bit shorter. And then First Time Caller, I guess I would burn it. It really hurts for me to say. I gave this 4 stars. Oh, I gave this 4 stars too, I think, right? Yeah, I gave this 4 stars. First Time Caller, I also gave 4 stars. It was a 3 for a while though. This is one of my most anticipated of 2025. I don't know why I didn't put it on my 2025 TBR. Oh, because I put In the Weeds on my 25 for 2025. This is BK Borson's newest release. She wrote Love Light Farms, if you didn't know, and I think that's the only reason why I would burn this, because it didn't hit as hard as Love Light Farms, but I also loved this, and I loved how it was inspired by Sleepless in Seattle. There's a radio show. The radio host is the male love interest, and the female love interest's daughter is the one who calls into the radio show. She hasn't dated in a while, and she talks about what she wants in a partner. He like takes note of everything eventually. It was so cute. But there was also this side character that really pissed me the fuck off, so that was annoying, but I really love this by the end. But I guess in this case I would burn it because I think I would have a lot of other 5-star books by this author, but I'm excited to continue this series as well. This is the Heartstrings series, I think. Damn, that was hard. That was so hard because I literally like fought for my life trying to get a copy of this book early. This is one of those books that I got my grubby little hands on and I read almost immediately. So yeah, that hurts for me to say. But only in this circumstance would I betray her like that. Okay, so perfect timing because my camera is flashing at me. That's my wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. If you have read any of these books, let me know in the comments. If you agree with me, disagree, whatever. Do your chatting down below. If you made it to the end of this video, let's give her some justice. Just put the pink sparkly heart emoji in the comments down below to match the cover of First Time Caller. Thank you so much for watching once again. Don't forget to do some self-care. Hope you had a 5-star day, and I'll see you in my next one.